Unity Spiritual Center, Saxe, this June 7, 2020. Let's take a deep breath together and prepare ourselves for service. Let's breathe in. Exhale, starting to relax the body, clear the mind, open our hearts. Sinking into that place where we are more infinitely aware of the divine realm, our place in it, knowing ourselves as that divinity. Continue to breathe slowly, fully, inflating the lungs all the way, expanding the diaphragm. Just keep breathing. Letting go of all of your cares and obligations. Letting go of whatever distractions may be in the room or outside your window. Just centering on your being. We unfold into our hearts and our minds and our consciousness right now all of our spiritual family that is not seated in this room, but who are joining us online. We feel you with us. We know and affirm our oneness together. Not just with this spiritual family, but with all sentient beings, all around this beautiful, beautiful planet of ours. One human family, one love, one life. One beingness in God, expressing as God here on this planet. Let's take one more breath in together. Inhale deeply, hold it at the top 1 minute, and exhaling out love and peace and harmony. And now we bring ourselves fully to our centering song, Spirit's Prayer. Sing together.
Loving Spirit dwells in me. This is my divinity. As within, so without. All I need is here and now. Where there's air, let me love. May I have no fear. All the power, all the glory, I surrender, let it be. Loving Spirit dwells in me, now and now and evermore.
And now, as we recite our children's blessing, let's call to mind into our hearts all children everywhere around this planet. Let's recite our blessing together. Children of light, we see you guided and directed by an inward spirit that leads you into the path that is right for you. We see you strong and whole. We see you blessed and prospered. We see you courageous and confident. We see you as the spiritually perfect beings you truly are. Children of light, we bless you. And our inspiration moment today is from Unity's daily word, joy. Joy is my constant companion. I discover reasons to feel joyful every day, even in the most challenging circumstances. I begin by centering my awareness on the Christ, the divine presence within. I feel love and peace lift my heart, and possibilities for good fill my thoughts. I am joyous. I may experience joy as exuberance, delight, and wonder. Joy may also come quietly as the peaceful assurance of God's presence wherever I am, whatever I am doing. My awareness of joy brings a glow to even the most ordinary day. As I engage wholeheartedly in all that is mine to do today, I share my joy with everyone through kind words, a sunny smile, and a warm welcome to everyone I meet. I radiate joy and bless the world with my positivity, happiness, and bliss. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. From Psalm 118, verse 24. Let's recite together our affirmation 3 times. Joy is my constant companion. Joy is my constant companion. Joy is my constant companion. Good morning. Good morning. Joy is my constant companion. I think many of us are struggling with finding joy these days. And I like this daily word reading for today because I think we assume that joy is perky and bubbly and, as the daily word says, exuberant, and you're just effusive and all over the place. And I love that it says that joy may also come quietly as the peaceful assurance of God's presence wherever I am, whatever I am doing. This just came to me, and I think sometimes Fred and I were talking about grief a little earlier. And grief, I think most of you have experienced, grief kind of runs underneath things. It's not always big and present in front of you, but sometimes you're just aware of it, and it's just kind of laying there. And your day is layered over it, and everything you're doing and thinking is layered over that grief. But I think with joy, that joy is the same, that even under that grief, joy is layered if you have a foundation upon which you know joy comes from. And so in this time where there's all of this stress and strife, yes, we can and should have joy. Because if you really have a foundation, then that joy should be percolating underneath everything else. And every time you're taken to something in the news or something somebody says, you still should have that anchor, that root in the joy, which should be the core of your being, that awareness of presence, like the Daily Word says. Your awareness that there is always something else there. Always. And we talk about it often, but I think we have to talk about it often because we struggle often. And I think we would struggle less if we would just stay there, like we talked about last Sunday, in the garden. Stay in that joy down here. And you can still be aware of what's happening in the world, but anchored here. And then all of the strife doesn't become a part of what you're experiencing. You can be aware, you can care about it, but not be outwardly struggling. I think we assume that if there's no outward struggle, that people don't care. And I think you can have both, because I've experienced intense grief and a joy of living at the same time. One of the things we talked about earlier was that if you're dealing with what you feel as they appear, then you're more able to feel and stay in touch with the core. Because as long as we let things stack up on us and we don't deal with what we feel or what we're thinking, and we don't clear things and we don't vent feelings, then all it becomes is a big screen through which you see everything and experience everything. Whereas we're called to experience the joy, the core, at the center. I think for me, all of this has to do with how I see God. And how you see God, I think, is directly linked to how you see yourself and how you see yourself in the world. So if God is out there, separate, some guy with puppet strings, doing stuff, pulling gears, shifting gears, moving you around, making you happy one day, testing you another day, and you're waiting on something to happen from out there, then I think perhaps you might suffer more. I know I did when that was my vision. However, when I started to change my paradigm, we've talked about this before, into God being this omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresence in the world, in which the world is contained, then my thoughts about myself changed, because I was no longer separate. I was no longer this little sinner running around the world waiting for God to give me grace and do this for me, fix that, fix this. Keyword separate. And so when we believe ourselves separate, then you're separate from me. And then I start to see you as something else. And then I deal with you as something else other than myself. And then we end up putting each other in categories. And I think one of the things that drives me the baddiest sometimes with our country is that we want to categorize each other all the time. Sometimes you can't even buy something, and they want to know, what categories are you in? How old are you? What race are you? How much money do you make? Perhaps what you drive. Everything. How do you fit in? And so there are some days you can't go a week without having to tell somebody what boxes you fit in. I think we need to let go of those boxes and stop categorizing people. I've had conversations with folks, and then they'll just say, he was black. And I think, what difference does it make if he was black or not? We're not talking about race. We're not talking about anything. But you need to tell me that for some reason. What difference does it make? Am I your black friend or am I your friend? And as long as we keep thinking that we're separate from this beingness that is God, the love that is God, then we separate each other and we separate ourselves. And then I want to put you in a category. Where do you fit in? Oh, I might like you, but I don't know who you voted for. I might like you, but I don't know where you worship. How do you worship? How many times a day do you pray? What do you call God? Oh, I don't know about that church. I don't believe what you believe, so you're separate from me. You're them. You're not part of us, because us is something different. And somehow for me, all of those categories, all of the separateness went away when I saw myself as an expression of God. And then everybody else became an expression of God, because you can't give to somebody else what you don't have. And if you think of yourself as separate, everybody else is too. Everybody else is too. We categorize ourselves. I do it to myself all the time. I think it's maybe part of our humanity. It's part of our, maybe not our humanity, but our habits. Because that's what we do. Is we're always categorizing. So if we are one humanity, one life, one love, as I talked about as we started, then it's just all one big existence. We're one group, one humanity, one life, one love. And it's easy to say it and say we believe it. And it's a whole nother smoke to believe it and live from that. So I think we need to start with, what do we think about God? Who do we think God is? What do we think God is? And what do we think we are in beingness, in relationship to God? And then who do I think my fellow man is? Am I categorizing again? Am I categorizing myself? Do I have to put somebody in a box to know them and love them? Some of us do. So I think these times call us to really look at ourselves. And what are we thinking? What are we really believing? And are we living the beliefs that we talk about so often? It's so easy to get the words out there. It's so easy. But it's a whole nother smoke again to be living something different. I went back to Eric Butterworth's Discover the Power Within You, because I was looking for something about beingness and what we think about ourselves and where we are in this big cosmic existence. And I was thinking about our work here with the 12 powers and trying to live our divinity and express that on a regular basis to our highest potential. So Jesus was not the first time the Christ showed up. The Christ principle always was. Christ principle is God. Jesus and others have come and showed us what that looked like in expression. That's why he was sent here. This is what it looks like when you live the principle. So Jesus was not the first Christ. We are all the Christ in potentiality. But Jesus came to show us, what does this look like? How do you live this? How do you not just talk about it, but be it and change the world as a result? So Butterworth says the Christ standard is not a restraint. It is an inherent potential. It is the law of man's higher self. It is the ascending urge within man that keeps him unsatisfied with what he is and does and drives him on to higher goals of living and being. A lot of people have talked about that on social media, that we need to be something different, that we need to express something different, that we need to have more unity and harmony. And so I think there is a lot of dissatisfaction with how we are being in this world right now. True fulfillment, Butterworth says, the goal toward which all men bend their efforts and shape their struggles can only be achieved through, quote, opening out a way whence the imprisoned splendor may escape, end quote, in every experience of life. What if, other than putting people in categories, all I looked for was your splendor? Your splendor. And I acknowledged and I affirmed that yes, you have splendor. You are splendor. And that's all I want to know about. I don't care what you believe. I don't care where you worship. I don't care what your background is. I don't care how old you are, or how much money you have, or what you drive, or where you live. I don't care what your zip code is. What I care about is this unleashed splendor, and I recognize that splendor in you, and all I want to do is experience that. And when you see somebody struggling, it's not that, oh, I want to be your friend because you're black or because you're white. I want to know you because you're God's splendor on this earth like I am. That's what I want to know about you. I know it's there. Show me your splendor. Let's share that together. That's the only box I've got for you. Is that you are this embodiment of love with special gifts to unleash on this world. Tell me about your gifts. That's what I want to know. That's what I want to experience. That's all I want. I think that's what all of us are screaming for when we want to be seen in the world. See who I am. Not this dress, not the skin color, not my jewelry, not the shoes I have on. That's not what matters to me. What I want is that you see my heart and the splendor that is me. Whether it shows up messy or not. Whether it shows up like you want it or not. See me. Butterworth continues, perhaps we have been living superficially, pursuing artificial goals, living under false standards, conforming to acceptable patterns in the world around us. To repent means to open the eyes of spiritual perception and see life in a new dimension, to see hidden realities behind every appearance. To see hidden realities behind every appearance. To resolve to face toward our Mount Olympus and make every step we take go in that direction. Jesus said, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." What is this freedom? It is not license to live without restraints, but the inward motivation to tame the raw spiritual power that is within us, to harness our divine potential, and to move in the direction of our highest good. Move in the direction of our highest good. So I think we're selling ourselves short by saying, I just want us all to, I want to have black friends who are who are nice, and I think they're like me. I think we're selling ourselves short when we do that. Let's say, oh, I have Mexican friends. Oh, I have white friends, and that makes it all okay. I think we can start there, and then we can open ourselves to the splendor that we all are. That we all are. And that, I think, is where we come from when we want to move away from the strife to heal the strife. Because if we refuse to look at it, we do need to look at it and see what is our place in it. What is my part in this? And start to heal it by healing ourselves. See the splendor within ourselves. Seeing the divinity within ourselves that is a part of this divinity that is God. And once you see yourselves as part of that splendor, then I open the door to seeing every last one of you as splendorous beings as well. Is that a word, splendorous? It is now. The splendorosity? Splendorousness? Fred said don't go there. I know, this could go on and on.
Once you see the image, splendor, you can see yourself.
Yeah. Do we really see ourselves that way? As divine splendor.
Look in the mirror.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that exercise that, I know I've talked about this before, where you stand in the mirror. They have that practice sometimes when you go to retreats. You stand in front of the mirror and say, I love you. I love you. I love you. And we always laugh about it because it's awkward. We're not used to doing that, to saying I love you to ourselves. We're not used to seeing ourselves as beings of splendor and magnificence. You know, you see a lot where people just say, I am enough. Yes, we want to start there and know that you are enough, but you are so much more than enough. You are divine magnificence. And I think if you sit back and really look at yourself, look at the things you've done in your life, look at the lives you have touched. Think about the splendor of the human body. We're so used to dragging our bodies through our days and not thinking about how magnificent these creations are. All the billions of processes that go on beneath our skin that we never have to think about. The words that are coming out of my mouth are coming from somewhere in my brain and my consciousness, and it's just all happening, firing in milliseconds. And the fact that you can hear my words and see me, perceive me with your eyes is a miracle. That's the splendor. The fact that I can see all your beautiful faces this morning is just magnificent. Being able to have your energy in the room, because I know what your faces look like. I can see your names written down on paper, and I know how I feel when I'm around you. That's the magnificence of who you are. That's what matters, that energy that we all are. That God thing that we all are. And if we stay in the space of God, if we stay in the garden, like I said last week, from Robin's beautiful song, if we stay in that garden and know that that garden is always there, then we can be aware of what's happening in the world and still have joy running underneath. All of it. And let it seep up and just share that joy Share that magnificence with everybody you meet. Share it in everything you do. Let that magnificence come through. Let that be the only box that you put somebody in. Everybody, 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 everybody. We all have somebody in our heads that we can't see in the magnificence box. Right? Yeah. Everybody. If you're just willing to open up the magnificence door for them and for yourself and for whatever you have together, whatever your relationship is, that's when we start to change the world. I was watching, I haven't finished yet, but that series called The Trials of Gabriel Fernandez. The little boy in California, 8-year-old boy, was tortured and killed by his mother and stepfather. And the things that happened in that family unit. And the things that happened in the system that was supposed to protect him. There was no magnificence there. Nobody saw themselves or each other as magnificence. And an 8-year-old little boy was writing suicide notes because he was being tortured. How does an 8-year-old, so I was trying to wrap my head around as I watched that documentary, how does an 8-year-old know that life is so untenable, I need to take my life? And even as I cried watching that documentary, I still know that there's joy. There's still joy. There's still joy. Because you know what? If I don't hold on to that core of joy, then I don't know why I want to be here. Man, you got to have something to hold on to. And if you don't find what your joy is, that's when you get lost. That's when you're grabbing at stuff outside of you so that you can hold on. That little boy had nothing to hold on to. And the people, some of the people in his life, not all of them, some of the people in his life didn't know that about themselves. Some of them experiencing such pain in their lives as well, that they could not see magnificence for themselves or in themselves or in anybody else. Not even somebody who gave birth to that little boy. Gosh, the things we're going through. So, man, you've got to have something to hold on to. Find out what it is. Find out what it is. And grab it and hold on to it and work it. Work it, work it, work it in your life. Work it in your life. You got to be able to put that thing to use, whatever it is. Because if you don't, you're gonna get the big knockout from this world, from life. We got stuff going on that is punching people between the eyes, and they don't know what to do with it. No matter what goes on, you should be able to call in something from down here, from deep in your gut, and say, yeah, I know this is what's happening. Yes, I see what's manifesting in the world. And I know that God is everywhere present. God is everywhere present. God is present in all the strife. We are going through something, and we need to be able to see that God is still present. We need to be able to feel that God is still present. I need to be able to look in your eyes and say, yes, God is present. I need to be able to look in my own eyes and say, yes, God is present in me and in everybody else. And when we can get there, I think we'll have peace so fast in this world, we won't know what to do with it. It'll be like all of a sudden the sun came up. And for a bit, we'll be walking around saying, what is this? Why is it quiet? Everybody's happy. Nobody's fighting everybody. There's no crime, no abuse, no pain, no nothing. We have the possibility of heaven on earth. It's already here. We have to express it. I've got to see heaven in you. I've got to see heaven in you. But man, I won't see heaven in you till I see heaven in me. The joy's still there. And those of us who know that have to say that out loud right now. We have to be able to show that to people. We have to walk around being that joy. It is so the opposite of not caring. In fact, I think that means that you're showing how much you care. When you say, yes, I realize there's strife, and God is everywhere present. The greater good somehow is here, and we will see it come to fruition. But those of us who can hold the high watch need to hold it. We need to know that there's magnificence. Magnificence is growing here in this soil, in what's been planted right now. And it will grow and make itself known to us. We've got to know it's there at the core. The splendor. I'm waiting for the day when I get a survey and it says, that's one of my check boxes. Are you magnificent splendor? That's the only one I'm checking. In fact, most of the time now when I get those surveys, I say, don't want to answer. Don't want to answer. You don't need to know who I am. I bought what I bought because that's what I like.
Yeah.
Not because I'm a particular race. Yes.
There's that time of the day, when the sun starts going down, just before, that splendor, that, oh my gosh, everything looks so vibrant. It's so beautiful. I have a lot of flowers in my backyard, and everything looks gorgeous at that time. And when you're talking about splendor, I have seen that splendor so many times, and I recognize it as splendor because it's beautiful.
And in Scripture, they talk about the lilies of the field. And how much more are we than a flower? Yes, that same splendor in your garden. We are that same splendor. To the zillionth degree. Yes. So what do we choose? Do you want to keep checking off those little boxes that come in the surveys for yourself and for everybody else you meet? What categories do you have for yourself and everybody you meet? Are you ticking off boxes, or are you really seeing the divine splendor in each of us? Especially in yourself. If you do nothing else this next week, get in touch with the splendor you are. And just feel that. And whatever that brings up for you, be in that until you feel it all over your body. And you've got goosebumps and hair sticking up on your arm. Or you have tears in your eyes and perhaps on your knees crying because you never thought of yourself as magnificent splendor. Do that, and I defy you to not see everybody else's splendor. Because you've got to have a lot of compassion and love for yourself to do that. And that compassion and love will just flood out all over with everybody else you meet and see. Magnificent splendor. That's what God is. That's what we are. It's what everybody is. Let's take this into meditation. Whew. Just breathe in. Breathe into splendor. Breathe into splendor, knowing that's who you are. That's what you are. And whatever boxes you have created for yourself, put a line through every last one of those boxes. And clear that page. Whatever you have surveyed yourself to be, throw it all out. Just let yourself be splendor, magnificence. Magnificence. Pure, unadulterated magnificence. God's beingness. God's beingness, divinity personified. Just sit with that, allowing yourself to feel it, letting your heart hold it. Letting go right now of everything someone may have called you, everything someone judged you to be, and let it all go. Wipe the slate clean. Wipe the slate clean. For the only thing that matters is your magnificence. And live from that core. And everything you do, everything you say comes from that magnificence. The way you see the world, the way you perceive everything that goes on, you see it in the context of the greater good. Just breathe in. Breathe in magnificence. And if you can't quite feel it, just open the door. Just be willing. Just be willing. You are so much more than enough. You are divinity personified. divinity personified, with unleashed splendor. And even at the times you know that you are releasing splendor, there is so much more waiting to be unleashed. You're an unlimited being. There's no cap, no ceiling, no limits, no quotas. There's always expansion. Creation is continually expansion. And as integral parts of that creation, we are also expanding into greater and greater magnificence. Let's breathe in together and exhale. Breathe in again. Exhale. Breathe in magnificence. Exhale magnificence. Knowing that it is infinite, breathe it in again. Exhaling any lack and limitation you feel, letting go of it. Breathe it in again. Exhale. One last time, let's breathe it in, seeing the whole world, every being, all of our brothers and sisters as magnificent beings. And we are all one. And exhaling into that knowingness, that assurance that God is present in all things, all circumstances. And so it is, and so it shall be. So as we head into offertory, I skipped a song.
Yeah.
And I am magnificent, even as I forget things. So let's take our tithes and offerings in our hands, or if you've already done it online or preparing to do so now, call up your abundance, knowing you are prosperous, and holding that in your heart. Hold it in your heart, knowing from that same divinity that is the source of our prosperity. All things flow from that. So let's now recite our celebration of giving. Together, divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all the good that I am and have, all the good that I give and receive. And so it is. And now, Raheem Kwazi.
Yeah. Hi. It's good to see everybody. Hi. Well, talking about the boxes that you check off, my nationality is Pakistani American because my father's from Pakistan, and then my mother is straight up red hair, freckles, American, and so on those things, believe me growing up, there was certainly, that was way before there was any kind of sub boxes of different Asian Americans or whatever, or Asians or whatever. It was always just white, black, Hispanic, other. And so I was always a bit of a rebel, and just being raised here in Texas, basically, if you are somebody with a different name, last name, or a slightly different shade of skin, you really have to become a rebel. You're kind of part of the underground, the resistance, And so I would check other, and then there's always that line, like you have to fill in. And what I would put was, I would write Off-White. That's so, and then I moved on with whatever. So that's how I still consider myself. So, and also to piggyback on to Kim's message, as far as joy, one of the ways I've found joy in this last 2 or 3 or so months is by learning other people's music, other people's songs. I always avoided it because I never wanted to lose my own voice or my own kind of energy or my own creative, And so, but then I started just discovering, gosh, of course there's so many songs we love. But for me to learn somebody else's song, that means I'm getting an inside look at that writer or that singer's way of expressing, or how John Lennon thought of chord structures, and Al Green and Marvin Gaye. And so I've been learning Elton John. So I've been learning, like eating, almost like at a big feast buffet table, just learning other people's songs I like. And so this one I'd like to present, but I'd like to make it a sing-along at certain parts, and you're going to know where your part is. But to me, I've learned this song only for one reason, and it ties into your message perfectly, and it's because I love the song, and I feel such joy when I'm singing it or playing it. That's the only reason, I'm not going to learn a song just because it's a cool cover that people want to hear. I'm subversive enough. I'm still kind of that rebel. But I'm going to learn a song if I really love it, because I know if I love it, that's what the splendor, that's what you're going to pick up on. So, and I kind of was giving it away a little bit of a hint during the meditation, but I'll do it right now. But you'll know your part. I'm so in love with you. Whatever you want me to, it's all right with me. 'Cause you make me feel so brand new, and I wanna spend my life with you. Let me say, since we've been together, loving you forever is what I need. Oh, let me be the one you come running to. I'll never be untrue. Let's be together, whether, here we go, whether good or bad or happy or sad. Whether good or bad or happy or sad. Why do people break up and turn around and make up? I just can't see. Oh, you never do that to me. I'll just be around you is all I see. Oh, baby, yeah. Well, we ought to be together, yeah. Loving you whether bad, yeah. Good or bad, or happy or sad, yeah. One more. Good or bad, or happy or sad. Thank you.
I haven't heard that in forever. Let's bless our tithes and offerings. We are infinitely grateful for all the time, treasure, and talent that flows into this community so that we can do our perfect work that we are called to do. Here with all the beloved souls that come through these doors and now around the planet as we share a message of peace, hope, joy, and prosperity. Amen. So please check Facebook and our website, unitysaxley.org, for our announcements. They're also on the Facebook page. If you are a Facebook user, go to our events section, and you can watch all of our talks either on the website, and you can see them all under videos on Facebook as well. So what is next? I'm lost. Someone help me. Prayer for protection. Let's recite our prayer for protection again. Together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And now the wonderful Rahim Quasi again.
Thank you. Well, may I play two songs?
Sure.
I kind of, I always look forward to coming here, and I'll be here next week too, I think. Yeah. And I've been writing so much, and of course, what's going on out there right now in the world, locally, regionally, nationally, internationally, is there's change in the air, very much like in the 60s, you know. Although I was born in 63, and so I have some vague memories of those times, and so that being said, I really, as a writer, I feel so much about what's happening. I really internalize things, just like any writer does or an artist, and so I'm going to play this song that I wrote, and then I'm going to end with a little more of a happy, feel-good song. This one's going to take us down a little bit into the trenches of a little bit of sadness and heartbreak, but I think we can handle it together. You know, the whole concept hit me about Black Lives Matter, and the whole concept, and then realizing this, thinking on these deeper levels about slavery and how 400 years ago, even like 100 or 200 years before America was even formed as a country, there were slaves here building and being, just being slaves, and so there's a whole lot of layers to this situation going on that I think people are trying to deal with and digest in their own ways. And so this song speaks to that. One other thought on that is, it's the concept of this in my brain. It's if you have a wet sheet and you wring that sheet out, and because that's the sheet you're going to have to that's going to be your blanket that night. You wring it out, and the next morning somebody comes in and kind of pours a bucket on that sheet again. And so you start the day wringing it out again and again. And to me, that kind of speaks to those deeper levels of slavery and race, that some people really are not starting out every day, but sometimes they're starting over and over and over, because it's hard to kind of just climb up and climb out of that paradigm. So So here we go. Someone believed 400 years ago that some were animals. They needed to be locked and chained and shipped abroad to live in stalls, ripped away from all they knew. Brothers, mothers, fathers, sisters, too. Every second new. So here we are, 150 years ago, from locks and chains. Don't believe it when they say there's nothing to these bloody stains when you're ripped away from all you knew. Brothers, mothers, sisters, fathers too. Every second new. The starting never ends as the weary begin. When you're ripped away from all you knew, brothers, mothers, sisters, fathers too. Every second new. New. The starting never ends as the weary begin. I hope that was received in a loving way.
Absolutely.
I know it's heavy. It's not easy being a songwriter sometimes because you have to kind of be there. You have to go into that place. It's not easy. All right. John Lennon. This is another song I just had to learn because it was just one of those songs, and I hope you've heard it before. If you haven't, it's kind of a deep cut. It's a deep John Lennon cut. And I'd love to end, after playing that song, I definitely need to bring myself up to a level of a lighter frequency. Love is real, is love. Love is feeling love. Love is wanting to be loved. Love is touch. Touch is love. Love is reaching love. Love is asking to be loved. Love is you and me. Love is knowing we can be. Love is free. Love is free. Love is living love. Love is needing to be loved. Thank you. Thank you. Woo. Wow, yes. Yes.
So let's recite our vision affirmation together.
We are growing.
Thriving spiritual community. We are stepping more fully into our innate divinity and earnestly expressing our I am nature each day. We give freely, generously, and lovingly to the places where we receive our spiritual food, and we are manifesting overflowing abundance in every area of our lives like never before. Our collective energy is a positive magnetic force that attracts spiritual seekers to our center every week, and our Sunday services and events are now filled to capacity. We are peace, we are prosperity, we are joy, we are love, we are Unity Spiritual Center, Saxe. So I leave you today with the words of John Lennon, so beautifully sung by Raheem. Remember, love is real. Real is love. And our job is to be that love every single day in whatever way you are called to be love. In whatever way you are called to be love. Have a wonderful week. Be who you are. Know your splendor and your magnificence. And we'll see you next Sunday. Namaste.